The morning had started normally enough. I'd driven across town with my 8-year-old son to attend my nephew's birthday party at my sister's house. The sprawling 2-story home sat in one of those neighborhoods where every lawn looked professionally maintained and every driveway held at least 2 expensive cars. My son had been excited all week. He'd used his allowance to buy a remote control car for his cousin, wrapping it carefully with tape applied in overlapping strips. The gift sat on his lap during the entire drive, his small hands protectively covering the bright blue paper. We parked on the street because the driveway was already full. My brother's SUV, my parents' sedan, and my sister's husband's truck took up every available space. I held my son's hand as we walked up the pristine sidewalk, noticing how he tried to step over the cracks. My sister answered the door wearing a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her smile was bright and welcoming, until her eyes dropped to my son's sneakers. They were new, purchased just last week from a discount store, but they weren't the brand-name shoes my nephew wore. Come in, she said, stepping aside. Everyone's in the backyard. The house smelled like expensive candles and fresh paint. We walked through the living room where furniture I recognized from a high-end catalog sat arranged in perfect symmetry. Family photos lined the walls, professional shots taken at studios with coordinated outfits and artificial backgrounds. In the backyard, colorful decorations hung from every available surface. A bounce house dominated one corner of the lawn. Tables covered with themed tablecloths held more food than 20 people could eat. My nephew ran past us, followed by 3 other children, all wearing matching party hats. My son's grip on my hand tightened slightly. He wasn't used to parties like this. Our birthday celebrations involved homemade cake and games in our small living room, maybe a trip to the park if the weather cooperated. "Hey buddy," my brother called out, walking over with a beer in hand. He ruffled my son's hair. "Ready to jump in that bounce house?" My son nodded, his shyness evident in the way he pressed closer to my leg. "Go ahead," I encouraged him. "Have fun." He hesitated for another moment before running off to join the other children, the wrapped gift still clutched in his hands. I made my way to where my parents sat at one of the tables. Dad was eating a plate of barbecue and Mom was watching the children with that expression grandparents get when all their grandchildren are in one place. "Glad you could make it," Dad said. "Traffic okay?" "Fine. Took the back roads." My sister appeared beside the table, holding a tray of drinks. "I wasn't sure you'd come. It's such a long drive from your place." There was something in her tone, a subtle emphasis on your place, that made my shoulders tense. "It's not that far," I replied evenly. "Well, some people don't mind the commute from those apartment complexes." She set the tray down with a slight clatter. "Michael and I couldn't imagine raising kids without a yard. Children need space to grow, don't you think?" Mom's expression shifted slightly, a warning look my sister either didn't notice or chose to ignore. "Different situations work for different people," I said, keeping my voice neutral. My sister's husband joined us, carrying a platter of burgers fresh from the grill. "Who wants to eat?" he announced cheerfully, oblivious to the tension. The next hour passed in a blur of forced smiles and careful conversation. I watched my son play with the other children, noticing how he held back slightly, not quite fitting into their easy camaraderie. They talked about video games he didn't have and vacation destinations he'd never visited. When it came time for cake, everyone gathered around the large patio table. My nephew sat at the head, a crown perched on his head, grinning at the attention. The cake was a professional creation, 3 tiers decorated with intricate designs that must have cost a fortune. My son stood near the edge of the group, still holding his wrapped gift. He'd been carrying it around for the past hour, waiting for the right moment to present it. My sister began organizing the gift opening, creating a designated area where my nephew could sit and display each present for photos. She assigned my brother's wife to write down who gave what, presumably for thank you notes later. One by one the gifts were opened. Electronics. Expensive toys. Gift cards to stores I rarely shopped at. Each present was met with enthusiastic reactions and immediate photo documentation. My son finally stepped forward when there were only a few gifts left, holding out his carefully wrapped package. The blue paper suddenly looked cheap under the afternoon sun, the tape visible and excessive. My nephew tore into it with the same enthusiasm he'd shown for all the others. The remote control car tumbled out, modest compared to the other toys, but chosen with genuine care. Cool, thanks, my nephew said, setting it aside to reach for the next present. My sister glanced at the car, then at my son, then at me. Something flickered across her face, an expression I'd seen before but never quite this pronounced. She walked over to where my son stood, her cream sweater bright against the darkening sky. The party was winding down and some families had already started gathering their things. That's when she looked down at my son and delivered the line that would change everything. You know, she said, her voice carrying across the patio, real family members don't live in apartments. The conversation around us died. My brother stopped mid-sentence. Mom's hand froze holding a paper plate. Dad's expression darkened. My son looked up at her, confusion evident on his young face. Then he looked down at his new shoes, the ones I'd been so proud to buy him, and I watched something shift in his eyes. My sister smirked, satisfied with whatever point she thought she'd made. The anger that rose in my chest was white-hot and immediate. For 3 years I kept quiet. For 3 years I'd maintained the facade, playing the role of the struggling younger brother while making sure my sister never missed a mortgage payment. When their housing market had crashed and their adjustable-rate mortgage had ballooned to unmanageable levels, when the bank had started foreclosure proceedings, who had they called? Not our parents, already retired on a fixed income. Not our brother, who had his own family expenses. They called me. Late at night, my sister's voice shaking with tears, begging for help. Just until they got back on their feet, she'd promised. Just until Michael's commission checks started coming in regularly again. Just temporary. I'd refinanced my own modest condo. I'd taken on extra consulting projects. I'd worked weekends and holidays, all while maintaining the illusion that I was the family member who couldn't quite get ahead. Every month for 36 months I'd transferred money to their mortgage company, not to them directly because I knew that would complicate things, but straight to the bank. They'd made the payments in their name, preserving their credit, protecting their home and keeping up appearances. And now she stood in that home, in the backyard I'd helped her keep, mocking my son for living in an apartment. I walked over slowly, watching her smirk widen as I approached. She thought I was going to slink away embarrassed. She thought she'd won whatever competition existed only in her mind. My son still hadn't moved, his small hand touching his new shoes as if to verify they were real, as if to understand what made them insufficient. I stopped directly in front of my sister, close enough that only she, my son, and my parents could hear clearly. Real family members, I said quietly, don't need their brother paying their mortgage. Her smirk vanished. The color drained from her face so quickly I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What? She whispered. You heard me. My brother-in-law approached, sensing something had shifted. What's going on? My sister's mouth opened and closed without sound. She looked at Mom, at Dad, searching for denial or rescue. Mom's face held a mixture of shock and something else. Disappointment maybe, or recognition that something irreparable had just broken. Please, Mom whispered, reaching out a hand. Please, not here. I smiled then, not with warmth but with the release of 3 years of careful silence. Not here. I repeated. Where then, Mom? When would be a good time to mention that I've been paying $3,200 every month to keep this house out of foreclosure? Should I have brought it up during Christmas dinner? Or maybe at Easter brunch? My brother moved closer, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding. You've been paying their mortgage? For 3 years, I confirmed. Since their rate adjusted and they couldn't make the payments anymore. My sister finally found her voice. You said you wouldn't tell anyone. You promised. That was before you decided to humiliate my son at a birthday party. My brother-in-law's face had gone red. Whether from embarrassment or anger I couldn't tell. We were going to pay you back. We just needed time to stabilize. 36 months, I said. That's $115,000. When exactly were you planning to stabilize? The number hung in the air, concrete and undeniable. Other family members had stopped pretending not to listen. The children still played, oblivious, but every adult on that patio was watching us now. My sister's eyes filled with tears, but they were angry tears, not sorry ones. You can't just announce that in front of everyone. You're destroying us. I'm destroying you? The laugh that escaped me was sharp. You just told my son he's not real family because we live in an apartment. An apartment I live in because I emptied my savings to keep your house. Dad stood up from his chair, his expression harder than I'd seen in years. Is this true? You've been paying their mortgage for 3 years. Every month. Direct deposit to the mortgage company. He turned to my sister. You told us you'd worked it out with the bank. You said they'd modified your loan. She couldn't meet his eyes. We did work it out. We just needed help making the payments. Help. Dad's voice rose slightly. That's not help. That's him paying for your house while you pretend everything's fine. We were going to pay him back, my brother-in-law repeated, but the words sounded hollow even to him. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw someone I barely recognized. When you called me 3 years ago crying, begging for help, I said yes because you're my sister. I said yes because family helps family. I said yes even though it meant I couldn't buy a house of my own, couldn't save for my son's education, couldn't do a lot of things. We didn't ask you to sacrifice everything, she said, her voice breaking. No, you just asked me to save your house. And then you forgot I did it. You forgot it so completely that you could stand here in a home I'm paying for and mock my son for where we live. Mom was crying now, silent tears she wiped away with trembling hands. My brother stood with his arms crossed, looking at my sister with an expression I'd never seen him wear before. The party was effectively over. Families were gathering their children, making excuses about early mornings and long drives. My nephew sat abandoned among his pile of gifts, the remote control car visible near the bottom. I took my son's hand. We're leaving. Wait, my sister said, reaching out. We need to talk about this. No, we really don't. You made your position clear. Real family members don't live in apartments. Well, real family members also don't pretend to own houses their brother is paying for. What are you saying? Her voice had gone small, frightened. I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app. With a few taps, I canceled the automatic transfer I'd set up 36 months ago. I'm saying I'm done. The next mortgage payment is all yours. The color that had drained from her face earlier didn't return. You can't. We can't afford it without you. The payment is $4,000. Then I guess you'll need to figure something out. Sell the house, refinance again, get second jobs. Not my problem anymore. My brother-in-law took a step toward me. Be reasonable. We have a family. We have kids. So do I said, squeezing my son's hand. And he just learned that his aunt thinks he's not real family because of where we live. That's worth more to me than your mortgage. I started walking toward the gate, my son keeping pace beside me. Behind us, voices rose in argument. My sister was crying loudly now. My brother-in-law was angry. Dad was demanding answers. Mom was trying to calm everyone down. We reached my car and I helped my son into his seat. His face was thoughtful, processing everything he'd heard. Dad? He said as I started the engine. Yeah, buddy. Are we real family? I looked at him in the rearview mirror, at his honest eyes and his discount store shoes, and felt my heart break a little. We're the realest family there is, I said. As we drove away, I saw my sister standing in her driveway, her cream-colored sweater perfect against the backdrop of her 2-story home. The home I'd been paying for. The home she'd have to figure out how to keep without my help. My phone started ringing before we reached the main road. Mom's name flashed on the screen. Then Dad's. Then my brother's. I let them all go to voicemail. The truth wasn't just starting. The truth had been there all along, waiting for someone to speak it out loud. I'd finally found the courage to do it, prompted by the sight of my son touching his new shoes and wondering what made him insufficient. Real family members don't need their brother paying their mortgage. But real family members also don't make children feel less than for circumstances beyond their control. I'd learned that lesson today, and it had cost me $115,000 to figure it out. The invitation had arrived 3 weeks earlier. Embossed cardstock announcing my parents' 40th wedding anniversary celebration. A formal dinner at their home, family only, dress code specified. My daughter had been excited, asking repeatedly what she should wear, practicing her table manners in our kitchen. She was 7 years old, bright-eyed and eager to please. She'd picked out a navy blue dress with white trim from her closet, insisting we press it carefully so it would look perfect. She'd even practiced sitting up straight, remembering how Grandma always commented on posture. We arrived exactly on time. The driveway was full of cars. My brother's luxury sedan and my sister's SUV taking up the spots closest to the house. I parked on the street, helping my daughter out of the back seat. She held a small wrapped gift she'd chosen herself. A photo frame with a picture of her and her grandparents from last summer. She'd used her own allowance to buy it, counting out dollar bills at the store with careful concentration. "Do you think they'll like it?" she asked as we walked up the stone pathway. "They'll love it," I assured her, though doubt already nagged at me. The front door was heavy oak, recently refinished. I'd paid for that too, though my parents didn't know I knew about it. My mother answered, wearing pearls and a silk blouse that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her smile was practiced, the kind she reserved for appearances rather than genuine welcome. "Come in. Everyone's already here." The dining room table was set for 8. My brother and his wife, my sister and her husband, my parents, and presumably 2 seats for my daughter and me. Crystal glasses caught the chandelier light. China plates sat at precise intervals. Everything looked like a magazine spread. My daughter's eyes widened at the formality. She'd been to family dinners before, but never anything quite this elaborate. "Go wash your hands," my mother instructed. "Bathroom down the hall." While my daughter was gone, my brother approached with a beer in hand. "Big production tonight, huh? When isn't it?" I replied quietly. My sister was already seated, checking her phone. Her husband talked with my father near the window, something about golf and business deals. The conversation had that comfortable quality of people who saw each other regularly, who existed in the same social circles. I'd always been slightly outside that circle. Different career path, different priorities, different life choices. It had never bothered me much, but lately the distance felt more pronounced. My daughter returned, her hands still damp from washing. She smiled at me, proud of following instructions. "Everyone take your seats," my mother announced, moving toward the head of the table. I guided my daughter toward the 2 empty chairs, but my mother's voice stopped us. "Actually, those seats are for your father's business partners. They're running late but should be here any moment." I looked at the table, counting seats again. 8 chairs. 8 place settings. Where should we sit? My mother's expression didn't change. "Well, there's the kitchen counter if you'd like. Or the living room couch. Wherever you're comfortable." My daughter's hand tightened around mine. She looked up at me, confusion replacing her earlier excitement. "You invited us to a family dinner," I said carefully. "Where there aren't enough seats? I assumed you'd understand. This is an important evening for your father. His partners are investing in his new venture. First impressions matter." My brother shifted uncomfortably. My sister continued staring at her phone. Their spouses made themselves busy examining the china patterns. "So we're not eating with the family?" My daughter's voice was small. My mother looked down at her and something flickered across her face. Not quite cruelty, but close enough. "Oh, sweetheart. Of course you can eat. There's plenty of food. You just can't sit at the grown-up table tonight." "Where should she sit?" I asked, my voice flat. My mother gestured vaguely toward the corner of the dining room. "There's space over there. She can make herself comfortable." The corner she indicated was near the serving cart, beside a decorative plant. There was no chair, no table, just carpet and wall. My daughter looked at the spot, then at the formal table, then at me. Her lower lip trembled slightly, but she was trying hard to be brave. "You want her to sit on the floor?" I clarified. "It's not ideal, but it's just for tonight. She's young, she's flexible." My mother's tone suggested this was perfectly reasonable. "Real family eats at the table, you get the floor." Then she chuckled as if she'd made a joke. The sound of that laugh did something to me. It crystallized years of small slights, subtle dismissals. Moments when my choices were questioned and my daughter was treated as somehow less than her cousins. My daughter reached down and touched her dress, the one she'd been so excited to wear. The one she'd pressed carefully. The one she thought would make her look grown up enough for grandma's fancy dinner. Everyone was watching now. The room had gone quiet except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I knelt down to my daughter's level. "Sweetheart, go get your coat from the entry closet, okay? Are we leaving?" Her voice held hope and disappointment in equal measure. "In a minute. I need to talk to Grandma first." She nodded and walked toward the hallway, her footsteps soft on the hardwood floor. I stood up and looked at my mother. Really looked at her. The pearls, the silk blouse, the carefully styled hair. The house around us, the formal table, the crystal and china. All of it maintained by money I'd been providing for the past 5 years. Real family doesn't need their child's money to survive, I said quietly. The words hung in the air like smoke. My mother's chuckle died. Her expression shifted, confusion replacing confidence. What? You heard me. My father moved closer, his face suddenly alert. Enough, he whispered, but there was warning in his tone, not authority. I didn't move. Didn't raise my voice. Just waited. My brother set his beer down. What are you talking about? Ask them, I said, still watching my mother. Ask them about their mortgage. About their property taxes. About their car payments and country club dues and all the appearances they maintain. My sister finally looked up from her phone. What's going on? My mother's face had paled. This isn't the time or place. No. I looked around the formal dining room. When would be better? After you made my daughter eat on the floor while explaining she's not real family? My father's whisper had been a warning, but he said nothing else. His silence confirmed everything. My brother stood up from his chair. Does someone want to explain what's happening here? I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app. The screen showed a history of transfers, regular as clockwork, spanning 5 years. Mortgage payments of $4,200. Tax payments of $1,200 quarterly. Insurance premiums of $800. Car payments for both vehicles. Country club dues. All going to my parents' accounts. Month after month, year after year. I turned the phone so my brother could see. His eyes widened as he scrolled. This is what's happening. I've been paying for everything. The house. The cars. The lifestyle. All of it. My sister crossed the room to look at the screen. Her expression shifted from confusion to shock. That's over $6,000 a month. $6,500 actually. Plus extra for property taxes quarterly. My mother finally found her voice. You said you wouldn't tell anyone. We had an agreement. That agreement didn't include humiliating my daughter. My father's business demeanor cracked slightly. We appreciate what you've done. But airing private financial matters in front of the whole family is inappropriate. More inappropriate than making a 7-year-old eat on the floor at a family dinner? My voice remained level, but the anger underneath was clear. More inappropriate than laughing about it? My brother was scrolling through the dates on my phone now, his expression darkening. This goes back 5 years. 5 years of payments. Their adjustable rate mortgage ballooned, I explained. They couldn't make the payments. They were going to lose the house. They asked for help. And you just paid everything? My sister's tone held disbelief. They're my parents. I said yes. My mother's carefully composed expression was crumbling. We were going to pay you back. Once your father's business recovered. 5 years, my brother repeated. That's almost $400,000. The number settled over the room like a weight. My sister's husband whistled softly. My brother's wife had stopped pretending to examine the china. We didn't ask for charity, my father said, but his voice lacked conviction. No, you asked for help. And I gave it. Every month, without fail, without complaint. I refinanced my own home. Took on extra projects. Worked weekends. Also, you could keep this house and this lifestyle and these dinner parties. My mother's hands were shaking slightly. You're embarrassing us. I'm embarrassing you? The laugh that escaped me was sharp. You told my daughter she's not real family. You literally pointed at the floor. It was just for tonight, she protested weakly. Your father's business partners are more important than your granddaughter. Yes, I understand. My daughter appeared in the doorway, her coat on, the wrapped gift still in her hands. She looked at the adults standing in various states of shock and confusion and seemed to understand that something significant had shifted. Dad, she said softly. Coming, sweetheart. I took my phone back from my brother. With a few taps, I canceled every automatic transfer I'd set up. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, country club dues. All of it gone. What are you doing? My mother's voice pitched higher. What I should have done years ago. The next mortgage payment is due in 2 weeks. You'll need to figure out how to cover it. My father's face had gone red. Be reasonable. We can't suddenly come up with $6,500. Then I suggest you sell something. Cancel some memberships. Make adjustments. I looked at the formal table, the expensive china, the crystal glasses. Looks like you have plenty of assets to work with. The house, my mother said desperately. We'll lose the house. Maybe. Or maybe you'll figure out how to actually afford your lifestyle instead of pretending to. My brother was still staring at his phone, processing. My sister had sat down heavily in one of the formal chairs, looking stunned. You can't just cut us off, my father said, trying to regain control. We're family. Real family, I said, echoing my mother's words. Doesn't make children eat on the floor. I walked to where my daughter stood and took her hand. The wrapped gift was still in her other hand. Should I leave this? She asked, looking at the present. I looked at my mother, at the woman who'd laughed at the idea of my daughter sitting on the carpet while business partners got the good chairs. No, honey. Bring it with you. We'll find someone who deserves it. As we walked toward the front door, voices rose behind us. My brother demanding answers, my sister calculating numbers out loud, my parents trying to explain and justify and negotiate. The doorbell rang just as we reached the entry. I opened it to find two men in business suits. My father's partners, presumably, smiling and holding wine bottles. Evening, one of them said. Are we late? Not at all, I replied, stepping past them. Perfect timing, actually. My daughter and I walked to our car in silence. I helped her into her seat and saw that she was crying quietly, tears running down her face. Did I do something wrong? She asked. No, baby. Not at all. Grandma did. Why doesn't she like me? It's complicated. But it's not about you. It's about her. I started the car and pulled away from the house. In the rearview mirror, I could see the front door still open, chaos visible through the entryway. My phone started ringing immediately. My mother's name flashed on the screen, then my father's, then my brother's. I let them all go to voicemail. Where are we going? My daughter asked. How about that pizza place you like? The one with the arcade games. Her face brightened slightly. Really? Really? And you can wear your fancy dress. It deserves to be shown off at a place that appreciates you. She smiled then, a genuine smile that made everything worth it. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Probably my parents calling from another phone. I declined the call. The lesson I'd waited to teach wasn't for my parents, really. It was for my daughter. The lesson that her worth wasn't determined by where people told her to sit. That real family doesn't humiliate children to impress business associates. That appearances maintained through hidden support aren't worth maintaining at all. $400,000 over 5 years. I'd done the calculation before, of course. I'd known exactly how much of my life had gone into maintaining theirs. But somehow, seeing my daughter touch her dress and look at that corner of carpet made the cost finally feel real. The lessons were due, not just for my parents but for all of us. About what family actually means. About what's worth protecting and what needs to be let go. My daughter started humming in the back seat, her tears drying. She was resilient, thank goodness. Kids are. But I wondered what scars this night would leave, what lessons about family and worth she'd carry forward. But she'd remember this night. Remember being told to sit on the floor. Remember leaving instead. Remember that when it mattered most, someone stood up for her. And maybe years from now, that memory would help her recognize when someone was treating her as less than she deserved. That was worth more than any amount I'd sent to my parents' mortgage company. Worth more than the house they'd fought to keep. Worth more than the appearances they'd maintained. Worth more than the 40 years of marriage they were celebrating without us. We pulled into the pizza place parking lot. The neon lights were bright and welcoming. Through the windows I could see families at tables, kids running toward arcade games, the casual chaos of a place that didn't require pressed dresses or perfect posture. Come on, I said, opening her door. Let's go show off that dress. She took my hand and we walked inside together, leaving behind the formal dinners, the floor corners, and the lessons finally learned. The tension at my parents' dinner table had been building for weeks, but tonight it reached a breaking point. My sister Jennifer had moved back into our childhood home 3 months ago after what she called temporary housing issues. The reality was that she'd been evicted from her downtown condo for missing 6 months of rent payments. She'd been served papers, had a court date she didn't attend, and finally had the sheriff escort her out when she refused to leave voluntarily. My daughter Maya, who was 7 years old, had been excited to see her aunt. She'd worn her favorite yellow dress and brought drawings she'd made at school. One showed our family as flowers in a garden, each person a different color. Maya has autism and sometimes struggles in social situations, but she'd been making incredible progress with her therapist. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of family. My mother had made pot roast, Maya's favorite, and there was apple pie cooling on the counter. "Pass the potatoes, please," Maya said softly, her voice barely audible. Jennifer rolled her eyes dramatically. "Can't she speak up? We're not mind readers." She'd been like this all evening, making small digs that together formed a pattern of hostility. It was as if Maya's very existence offended her. I felt my jaw tighten but kept my voice steady. "She asked politely, Jennifer." "That's the problem," Jennifer continued, reaching for the wine bottle and pouring herself a generous glass. "It was her third since we'd arrived 30 minutes ago. You coddle her. Kids need structure, discipline. Not this gentle parenting nonsense. When we were kids, we didn't get away with this behavior." My father, seated at the head of the table, shifted uncomfortably. He'd always avoided confrontation. My mother focused intently on cutting her chicken, her knife scraping against the plate with increasing force. "Maya's doing wonderfully," I replied calmly. "Her teacher says she's reading above grade level. She's also learning piano, and her art teacher wants to submit one of her paintings to an exhibition. She's made friends at school. She's thriving." "Reading," Jennifer scoffed. "What about normal things? Can she look people in the eye? Can she handle a normal conversation without shutting down? Can she go to a birthday party without you calling ahead to warn everyone?" Maya's hand found mine under the table. She squeezed tightly, her signal that she was getting overwhelmed. Her breathing changed, becoming shallower. I squeezed back twice. "Our code for you're safe, I'm here." "Jennifer, perhaps we could discuss something else," my mother suggested weakly, finally looking up from her plate. "How about that new restaurant downtown?" "No, Mom. Someone needs to say what everyone's thinking." Jennifer leaned back in her chair, swirling her wine. "It's not normal. The way she needs everything explained. The way she can't handle loud noises. The meltdowns. Remember Christmas?" "She's 7, I said, my voice still measured. "And she hasn't had a meltdown in 4 months. Because you structure your entire life around avoiding them," Jennifer shot back. "That's not preparing her for the real world. The real world doesn't care about her sensory issues or her need for routine." My father finally spoke. "Jennifer, that's enough." "Is it, Dad? Because I think someone needs to be honest here." She took another sip of wine. "This whole family tiptoes around her. We can't have music playing. We can't use the blender. God forbid anyone raises their voice." "We're being considerate," I said. "You're being excessive." Jennifer pointed her fork at Maya. "And you're doing her no favors. What happens when she's an adult? When she can't function because Mommy isn't there to make everything comfortable?" Maya's hand trembled in mine. I could feel her starting to retreat inward. That familiar withdrawal when the world became too much. "I think we should go," I said quietly, starting to stand. "See." Jennifer addressed the table triumphantly. "This is exactly what I mean. Can't even handle a little honest conversation. Running away the moment things get uncomfortable." "You're being cruel," I said simply. "I'm being realistic." Jennifer stood as well, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "And since we're being honest, let's talk about this house. This is a family home, a place for normal family gatherings. Not a sensory-controlled environment for special needs kids." My mother gasped softly. "Jennifer." "What, Mom? You're thinking it too." "We all are." She gestured around the dining room. "Look at this place. We can't use the nice china because it's too loud when plates clink. We can't have normal lighting because it's too bright. We have to watch our volume, our tone, everything." "These are simple accommodations," I said. "They're excessive," Jennifer countered. "And honestly, maybe it would be better if certain family members stayed in different parts of the house during gatherings. You know, where they'd be more comfortable. Where the environment suits their needs better." The room went absolutely silent. Even my father stopped eating. "What are you suggesting?" My voice was barely a whisper. Jennifer shrugged, refilling her wine glass. The bottle was nearly empty now. "Just that maybe Maya would be happier in the basement playroom. It's quieter down there. Less stimulation. More her speed. We could set up a nice area for her. Bring her meals down. That way she wouldn't have to deal with all the noise up here and we wouldn't have to walk on eggshells." Kids like yours should stay in the basement, not upstairs, she said casually, as if she were discussing seating arrangements at a wedding, as if my daughter were something to be hidden away. Maya looked down at her plate, her shoulders hunching. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I carefully set down my fork. The sound of metal touching porcelain seemed impossibly loud in the silence. Like how you're staying in Dad's guest room since your eviction? I asked calmly. Jennifer froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. That's different. Is it? I kept my tone conversational. Because from where I'm sitting, you're living in someone else's home rent-free because you couldn't manage your own finances. You had a 2-bedroom condo. You had 6 months to figure things out before the eviction became final. That was a misunderstanding, Jennifer said quickly, her face flushing red. My property manager had it out for me. You missed 6 months of rent, I continued. And before that you borrowed $5,000 from Mom and Dad that you never paid back. Before that it was $3,000 for your car repair. I know because Mom tells me when she's worried about money. My mother whispered, "Stop." But someone had to say it. The difference between Maya and you, I said, standing up and helping my daughter from her chair, is that Maya is 7 years old and learning. She works hard every day on things that don't come easily. She practices social skills with her therapist. She's brave and resilient. You're 32 and still expecting everyone to accommodate you. How dare you, Jennifer hissed, standing so quickly that her chair tipped backward. No, how dare you? I replied, my voice still steady but firmer now. How dare you criticize a child for needing understanding when you've spent 3 months eating Mom's food, using Dad's utilities and sleeping in their guest room without contributing a dollar? How dare you drink their wine and judge my parenting when you can't even keep a roof over your own head? I'm getting back on my feet, Jennifer protested. I've had setbacks. Jobs aren't easy to find. Maya goes to therapy twice a week and works incredibly hard on skills that don't come naturally to her, I said. You go to the mall and charge things to Mom's credit card. I know about the $300 at Nordstrom last week. My father cleared his throat. Both of you need to calm down. No, Dad. I gathered Maya's jacket from the back of her chair. We need to leave. Because Jennifer is right about one thing. This isn't a comfortable environment. Not because of sensory issues, but because of her constant judgment and complete lack of self-awareness. Jennifer slammed her wine glass down so hard that wine sloshed over the rim. You can't talk to me like that in my parents' house. Their house, I corrected. Not yours. You're a guest just like us. Except we were invited with love. You showed up with a court-ordered eviction notice and nowhere else to go. It was a temporary housing issue. Jennifer's voice rose sharply. That's what eviction is, I said simply. A housing issue that becomes permanent when you don't pay rent for half a year. My mother stood up, wringing her hands. Please, both of you. This is getting out of hand. It got out of hand when Jennifer suggested my daughter should be hidden away in a basement, I replied. I helped Maya into her jacket, her small body trembling against mine. I didn't say hidden, Jennifer backtracked. I just meant more comfortable. You meant out of sight, I said. Because heaven forbid anyone acknowledge that not all children develop the same way. Heaven forbid we show basic human kindness and understanding. I show plenty of kindness, Jennifer argued. You show judgment, I countered. You show disdain. You show an incredible lack of self-awareness for someone who's been living on their parents' charity for 3 months. My father finally stood, his chair scraping back. That's enough from both of you. You're right, Dad. It is enough. I took Maya's hand. We're going home, to our home. The one I pay for with my job. The one where my daughter is loved and accepted exactly as she is. Don't you dare make this about money, Jennifer snapped. You made it about money when you criticized my parenting while living rent-free, I said. I looked at my parents. Thank you for dinner. I'm sorry it ended this way. My mother looked like she might cry. Please don't go like this. I love you, Mom. But I won't stay somewhere my daughter is treated like a problem that needs to be hidden. I guided Maya toward the front door. Jennifer followed us into the hallway. You're being overdramatic. Am I? I paused at the door. Tell me, Jennifer, in all your wisdom about child rearing and proper parenting, how many children do you have? She didn't answer. Right. None. You have no children, no stable housing, and no income of your own right now. But you're qualified to judge how I raise my daughter. I have eyes, Jennifer said defensively. I can see when a kid isn't normal. Maya is perfect, I said firmly. She's kind, creative, loving, and trying her best every single day, which is more than I can say for you right now. I opened the front door. The cool evening air rushed in and Maya took a deep breath, already starting to regulate herself. Come on, sweetheart, I said softly to my daughter. Let's go home. As we walked to the car, I heard my mother's voice from inside, sharp in a way I rarely heard. Jennifer Marie, what is wrong with you? That is your niece. How could you say those things? I buckled Maya into her car seat, adjusting the straps carefully. She was quiet, staring out the window at the darkening sky. A few stars were beginning to appear and I could see her tracking them, counting silently the way she did when she needed to calm down. I'm sorry about tonight, baby, I said gently, kneeling beside the open car door. She looked at me with those wise 7-year-old eyes. Aunt Jennifer was mean. Yes, she was. But you stood up for me. Her voice was small but steady. Always, I promised, taking her small hand in mine. Always, always, always. No matter what. I don't want to be in the basement, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. You never have to be anywhere you don't want to be, I told her firmly, wiping away a tear. And anyone who doesn't appreciate what an amazing person you are doesn't deserve to be around you. She nodded slowly, processing this. As I drove home, my phone buzzed repeatedly in the cup holder. Text messages from my mother, my father, even from Jennifer. I ignored them all, keeping my eyes on the road and occasionally checking on Maya in the rearview mirror. She needed calm, needed routine, needed to decompress from the emotional trauma of the evening. At home, I made her favorite chamomile tea with exactly 2 teaspoons of honey. I put on her comfort show, the one about the girl who solves mysteries with her dog. We'd seen every episode multiple times, but the familiarity was what she needed. I sat with her on the couch and she leaned against me, her small body gradually relaxing, her breathing slowing to normal. I could feel the tension leaving her muscles. Mom, she said after a while during a commercial break. Yes, baby. Thank you for not making me stay. Her voice was clearer now, stronger. Thank you for taking me home. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. I will never make you stay somewhere you're not respected. Not ever. Not for anyone. She was quiet for another moment. Then, I love you. I love you too, Maya. So much. Later that night, after Maya was asleep, I finally looked at my phone. 17 messages. I deleted them all without reading them. Some boundaries, once crossed, require space to heal. My daughter didn't need to be hidden in a basement. She needed to be celebrated, supported, and loved exactly as she was. And anyone who couldn't understand that simply didn't deserve a place in our lives. The conversation at dinner had been painful but necessary. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes standing up for what's right means walking away from what's comfortable. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply say no, and mean it. The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was helping my daughter, Emma, pick out decorations for her 8th birthday party. She'd been planning it for months, talking about it every single day. Pink and gold streamers. A unicorn cake. Her grandparents sitting in the seats of honor because she loved them so much. We need to talk about next weekend, my father said without preamble when I answered. Emma's birthday party? I'm so glad you called. She wants to show you her dress. She picked it out herself. I watched Emma hold the sparkly pink dress up against herself in the mirror, her face glowing with excitement. That's actually what I'm calling about. My father's tone was clipped, businesslike. Your mother and I won't be able to make it. I felt my stomach drop. What do you mean you can't make it? It's her birthday. She's been talking about having you there for weeks. We have other commitments that day, he said simply. The Hendersons are hosting a charity gala at the club. It's black tie. Very exclusive. We already RSVP'd yes weeks ago. Weeks ago. I repeated slowly. Emma's birthday has been on the calendar for 6 months. Well, we forgot, my father said with a hint of irritation. These things happen. She's young. She'll have plenty of other birthdays. Emma looked up at me, sensing something was wrong. Her smile faded slightly. Dad, this is important to her. Can't you go to the gala another time? Don't be ridiculous, he scoffed. The Hendersons are very influential people. Your mother and I can't just skip their event. Besides, we already bought new outfits. Your mother has a designer gown. I had a new tuxedo tailored. You bought a new tuxedo for the Hendersons' party, but you can't come to your granddaughter's birthday? My voice was rising despite my efforts to stay calm. It's not the same thing, my father said defensively. The club event is for adults. It's sophisticated. It's our social circle. Emma will be fine with her little friends and some cake. I closed my eyes trying to process this. She's 8 years old. She made special invitations for you. She drew pictures of the three of you together. We'll take her out for ice cream the following weekend, my father offered as if this were a reasonable compromise. We'll make it up to her. She doesn't want ice cream next weekend. She wants her grandparents at her birthday party this weekend. Well, she can't always get what she wants, my father snapped. That's a lesson she needs to learn. The world doesn't revolve around children's parties. Emma had put down her dress and was now standing very still watching my face. He knew. Children always know when something is wrong. Let me be very clear, I said slowly. You're choosing a country club party with the Hendersons over your only grandchild's birthday. Don't be dramatic, my father said. We're not choosing anything. We simply have prior commitments. Important ones. You should understand that we have a social position to maintain. A social position, I repeated flatly. Yes. The club, the charity boards, our friends. These things matter. They're part of who we are. We can't just drop everything because a child wants us at a party. I looked at Emma, who was now sitting on her bed, her small hands folded in her lap, her earlier excitement completely deflated. She wasn't crying. She was just very, very still. That was worse somehow. She made you drawings, I said quietly into the phone. She made you special place cards for the table. She told everyone at school that her grandparents were coming. And we're very sorry we can't make it, my father said, though his tone suggested he wasn't sorry at all. But life is full of disappointments. She'll survive. Something inside me shifted. I thought about all the phone calls over the years. All the financial conversations we'd had. All the things my parents never knew I knew. The Hendersons' party at the country club, I said carefully. That's the Riverside Country Club, right? Of course. Where else? My father sounded puzzled by the question. And you're wearing the new tuxedo you just had tailored? The one from that Italian designer downtown? Yes. What does that have to do with anything? And Mom's new gown, the one from the boutique on Fifth Avenue? Your mother deserves nice things, my father said defensively. We've worked hard all our lives. I opened my banking app on my phone. My finger hovered over several automatic payment settings. Payments that had been running for 7 years. Payments my parents had never questioned. Payments they'd simply accepted as their due. Dad, I have a question, I said calmly. How exactly are you paying for all of this? The country club membership? The designer clothes? The charity galas? What kind of question is that? My father's voice took on a sharp edge. That's none of your business. Actually, it is my business, I replied. Because I'm the one paying for it. Silence on the other end of the line. What are you talking about? My father finally said. The country club membership, $4,800 a month. I pay it. The mortgage on your house, $3,200 a month. I pay it. Your car payments. Both of them. I pay those too. Your credit cards, your insurance, your property taxes. Shall I continue? That's ridiculous, my father sputtered. We have retirement savings. We have investments. You had retirement savings, I corrected. You depleted them 12 years ago when Dad's business failed. You never rebuilt them. For the past 7 years I've been covering your lifestyle. Every single expense. I set up the payments to come from an account that didn't have my name visible to you. You just assumed you had money. Emma was watching me now with wide eyes. I shouldn't have been having this conversation in front of her, but I couldn't seem to stop. You're lying, my father said, but his voice had lost its certainty. I'm not. Check your bank account right now. Look at where the deposits come from. Look at who pays your club membership. Call the club if you don't believe me. Ask them whose credit card is on file. I heard muffled voices. My father must have pulled the phone away to talk to my mother. When he came back, his tone had changed completely. Even if that were true, he said carefully, it doesn't change the fact that we have commitments. We can't just cancel on the Hendersons. Can't? Or won't? Both? He said, some of his earlier arrogance returning. We're not going to embarrass ourselves by canceling at the last minute. And frankly, your daughter needs to learn that she's not the center of the universe. My daughter, I said quietly, is 8 years old. She's kind, loving, and she thinks the world of you. She saves her drawings to show you. She practices piano because she wants to play for you. She talks about you constantly. And you're telling me that your social status with the Hendersons is more important than showing up for her. It's not about importance, my father argued. It's about obligations. Responsibilities to our community. Like the country club events you can't afford without my money? I asked calmly. He froze. I could hear it in the sudden silence, in the sharp intake of breath. The reality had finally hit him. What are you saying? His voice was barely a whisper. I'm saying that every single thing you do at that country club I pay for. Every event, every dinner, every round of golf. The Hendersons gala. The ticket price? I'm paying for that too. The designer tuxedo? My credit card. Mom's gown? Same card. Even the valet parking at the club. All of it comes from me. Now wait just a minute, my father started, his voice rising. No, you wait, I interrupted, my own voice perfectly calm. You're choosing the Hendersons over Emma. You're choosing people who only know you because you show up at expensive events wearing expensive clothes and pretending you're wealthy. None of them would give you the time of day if they knew the truth. The truth. My father sounded panicked now. That you're broke. That you've been broke for years. That your daughter has been subsidizing your entire lifestyle because she didn't want you to feel ashamed or lose face with your friends. I heard my mother's voice in the background. Please, she was saying. Please don't do this. But truth hurts and sometimes it needs to be said. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice still eerily calm. You have a choice. You can come to Emma's birthday party next Saturday at 2 o'clock, or you can go to the Hendersons gala. But if you choose the gala, I'm canceling every single automatic payment I have set up. Your club membership will be terminated. Your credit cards will be declined. Your lifestyle ends. You can't do that, my father said, but there was no conviction in his voice. I absolutely can. It's my money. It's always been my money. I've been giving it to you out of love and respect. But if you can't show that same love and respect to your granddaughter, then I see no reason to continue. You're being manipulative, my father accused. I'm being clear, I corrected. I'm not asking you to choose between your social life and your family. I'm telling you that your social life only exists because of your family. Because of me. And if you can't prioritize an 8-year-old child's birthday party over cocktails with the Hendersons, then you don't deserve either. Emma had moved closer to me now. She reached up and took my hand. Her small fingers were cold. Let me talk to your mother, my father said, his voice tight. Put her on speaker, I replied. A moment later my mother's voice came through, trembling. Honey, please, don't do this. Your father didn't mean it the way it sounded. Didn't he? We can work this out, she pleaded. We can find a compromise. The compromise is simple, Mom. Show up for Emma's birthday. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Choose your granddaughter over a party with people who wouldn't care if you disappeared tomorrow. It's not that simple, my mother said weakly. It absolutely is that simple. You're making it complicated because you're embarrassed to cancel on the Hendersons. You're more worried about what they'll think than what Emma will feel. That's not fair, my mother protested. What's not fair is breaking an 8-year-old's heart because you're too proud to skip a party, I said. What's not fair is making her feel like she doesn't matter. What's not fair is teaching her that social status is more important than family. I could hear my father and mother talking in hushed, urgent voices. Finally, my father came back on the line. Fine, he said bitterly. We'll come to the party. Are you happy now? This isn't about me being happy, I said. This is about Emma knowing she's loved. And frankly, after this conversation, I'm not sure your presence is worth it anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means you should come because you want to, not because I threatened to cut off your money. If you show up to that party with resentment in your hearts, Emma will feel it. Children always do. We'll be there, my mother said quickly. We'll be there and we'll be happy to be there. I promise. I hope so, I said. Because if you make her feel bad in any way, if you make comments about how you had to miss the Hendersons' party, if you show any sign that you'd rather be somewhere else, then that will be the last time you see either of us. You can't mean that, my father said. Try me. I ended the call and looked down at Emma. She was staring up at me with those big, serious eyes. Are Grandma and Grandpa coming to my party? She asked quietly. Yes, baby. They're coming. Did you have to make them come? I knelt down so I was at her level. Sometimes grown-ups forget what's really important. Sometimes they need to be reminded. Are they mad at you? Maybe a little, I admitted. But that's okay. I'm not sorry for standing up for you. She wrapped her arms around my neck and hugged me tightly. Thank you, Mommy. Always, sweetheart. Always. The party the following Saturday was tense. My parents arrived on time, dressed appropriately but not extravagantly. They brought gifts and smiled for photos, but there was a coldness in my father's eyes that hadn't been there before. A resentment that simmered just below the surface. Emma didn't seem to notice. She was so happy to have them there, showing them her cake, introducing them to her friends, pulling them over to play games. She glowed with joy all afternoon. As they were leaving, my father pulled me aside. We need to talk about the financial situation, he said stiffly. What about it? We can't continue like this with you holding money over our heads. I'm not holding anything over your head, I replied. I'm simply not going to fund a lifestyle that you value more than your own grandchild. We came to the party, didn't we? You did. This time. What about next time? What about her school plays, her piano recitals, her graduation someday? Are you going to show up for those, or will you always need to be threatened first? My father didn't answer. Here's the thing, Dad. I love you. I've been helping you for years because I love you and I didn't want you to struggle. But love is supposed to go both ways. If you can't show up for the people who love you, then what's the point? It's not that simple, he muttered. Yes, I said firmly. It really is. They left shortly after, and I never heard whether they tried to explain their absence to the Hendersons or what excuse they gave. I didn't care. What mattered was that Emma had her grandparents at her party. What mattered was that she felt loved and valued. The automatic payments continued. I didn't cancel them. But the relationship had changed. My parents knew now that their lifestyle was a gift, not a right, and they knew that gift came with expectations. Some truths hurt, but sometimes they're necessary. And sometimes choosing your child means choosing to hurt the people who should have known better all along. Emma never knew the full extent of what happened that day. She just knew her grandparents came to her party. She just knew she mattered. And that was enough.